Okay, I am now in the release of Minecraft. This is a 1.1 snapshot, and there's something contentious that I need to do here that could very much be considered cheating by a lot of people, but under my own rule set, I have determined that this is something that I can do because it doesn't involve the use of cheats. This is just a feature of this snapshot. What I intend to do here, because in this version in particular, guess what? Another debug feature was left in. Or I guess, I don't know if that's the case, it just very much seems like this would be a debug feature that would not be intended to be part of the game. I do think I need to set up a proper base of operations somewhere over here and get started, because I do want to make some kind of exhibit for the things that I ought to place down before they get removed during the flattening. Things like the half doors, half beds, portal blocks, things like that are all gonna go away at some point, so I am gonna want to put something somewhere where I can preserve them, make sure they don't get any block updates to break them or anything like that. So I guess for now I'll just put down this chest here, and then if I press the B button, I am now in creative mode. It's as simple as that. I could do a lot with this. I'm not going to do a lot with this, because taking advantage of it too much, I feel, will detract from some of what I want to accomplish. I know I've been doing duplication stuff, and I probably will duplicate these eggs when they are able to be stacked, because it doesn't seem that I can stack them at the moment, and I will be using them in conjunction with the spawners. They're very much not the same colors that I'm used to, even before the spawn eggs got changed to better represent the things that they spawn. They're not... they look weird. I feel like that makes this version a very short stop. So I guess now I just move on. Okay, so I forgot to start recording my audio, but honestly I haven't done too much. I'm on a 1.3 snapshot now, which is the next snapshot. This is the next stop that I was supposed to make. And the only thing that I actually need from this version is the petrified slabs, the wooden slabs with stone properties, which you get when you make any kind of wooden slab in this version or prior. This is the last version that I can make them. So I went and I got some trees, and I've got some trees now planted in that area over there. I'm gonna grow them, probably use some kind of wooden design for my exhibit that I'm planning to make, because I think that's the easiest material that I can get my hands on at quantity currently. Maybe I'll do something different for the pedestals, which I intend to have kind of floating off on their own little things out to the side. It's gonna be like, I guess, a path, and then on each side of the path will be different things to observe. My water is freezing now. I guess the updates change the biome that this area is in, and as a consequence my water is now turning into ice, which I guess I don't want for the water stream that goes down to the lower area of the farm. God, there's little holes all over that I need to be very careful of when navigating this place. That's why I'm not a fan of the darkness. Not only is it hard for me to see much, you also have the guys spawning around who could just knock me off, which has happened multiple times already. I think for now I might settle making a furnace, making some charcoal so that I can get some torches up around here, because I don't fancy digging through the sky islands very much. I don't think this is a very mining safe environment. I guess the furnace at least gives me a little bit of temporary light for the time being. Oh, that's not ideal. I guess it's fine so long as I have the relevant spawn egg. There's only a couple of these spawn eggs that I particularly care about too greatly at the moment that I intend to use in the future, like the villager one, the spider one. A lot of these other ones will just be good for setting up consistent farms of things that I will want relative quantities of. Like, I guess maybe creeper ones for gunpowder farms. Though I guess I do have a fairly decent stockpile of gunpowder from the mob system. Just want to make sure that this upper area is relatively safe, so that I don't have any more incidents. I guess I could be, within my own rules, just duplicating this wood rather than farming it myself, but you know what? I don't feel like it. Slime, there's a slime chunk. I guess this here is a slime chunk. Hello. No slime balls. Shame. I feel like a majority of the things that I intend to duplicate will be things that are non-renewable in the future, things that become discontinued. Like the spawn eggs that I have, they will be duplicated to some extent at some point. I will be kinda flying through some versions over the next little while, and I'm not too familiar with what each update adds in itself. As I mentioned last time, the point of being here is not necessarily to experience what each update has, so I may be surprised when there are suddenly features that I didn't know I would have access to, because I don't know when things were added or when features became a thing. Like, I guess, let's see if I can place stairs upside down in this version. No. Okay, and it's still got the full block outline. You can see the biome blending going on here, where the biome borders, I guess, are. I have no idea what kinds of biomes this area will be. I feel like this duller green is like a spruce biome, but I don't know, the biome borders could change again in the future, and oh no, it does show on the F3 screen. Yeah, taiga. This is a beach. Nice cave. Just a hole in the world. And also I just realized that the charcoal texture is the same as the coal texture, which is interesting. Okay, that's probably enough lighting up of this general area for now. I feel like that should be enough for me to not struggle too much with guys spawning. So what I've landed on to begin with is essentially just a big old straight path. I'm gonna put some glowstone along it. I don't need to, because they're bottom slabs, nothing will spawn on them anyway, but for the sake of visibility there will be glowstone occasionally along this path. And then out to the sides, on either side, there will be little pedestals that have the blocks that are to be shown off, which means going back and getting my glowstone, and I guess whatever other stuff I want to bring over from the spawn area. I very much ought to set up a nether portal around here for ease of transportation. I guess maybe I'll do that while I make my trek back. Yeah, I think about here is where I'm gonna put my portal. I'm not really sure what's up with this one particular chunk line of, like, differently generated terrain from the old stuff over there that's, like, also not the sky terrain that's over there. It's as if there was maybe a brief moment of correctly generated chunks while it was running on a server before it got confused and started doing that. I don't know. The fire and the lava and the water, I don't need to place down. They won't persist past a certain version, regardless, and when I place them down in the world, they're no longer like a special or unobtainable thing, because you can get lava and water in a bucket, and you can just place fire using like a flint and steel or a fire charge or something. So the fact that I have these is kind of irrelevant, I think, because they can only survive if I never look at them again after a certain point. So there's no merit to bringing them back with me to show off. So hopefully this should mean that I no longer have to make that arduous trek to get back to spawn every time I want to get back there. Yeah, I now instead have this straightforward direct tunnel that'll lead me straight to the nether hub, which is great. That's gonna be a huge convenience going forward. Okay, and I now have a bunch of the different things that I intend to put on the little display pods, so I guess the next step is to just get those in. Okay, so this is what it is currently. This is my little kind of showcase platform, I suppose. You get to kind of just walk down, and then I'm gonna have these little pods that have each of the things that I'm not able to get anymore on them. The bedrock spawner. This is the end portal block. You kind of have to get up on an extra block of height to be able to see some of these, so I might raise this platform up at some point, because I can't move these bits now that they're down here. So if I want to make it more visible, I'm just going to have to adjust the viewing platform in the future, but as I get more things, and there will be some more things that I know that I'll want to get, this will just continue down in this straight path. I might change the design of the path itself at some point when I have more things available to me, but for now, this gets the job done. And it shows off the things that I have, so I'm happy with it. And I've got the slabs, which is I guess strictly what I came for at this point. Ended up getting a little bit carried away setting up the little display bridge, and also setting up the nether portal to get myself back to spawn earlier, but I think that'll do it for this version, because I think that that's everything that I had to get here. Right, so I managed to really mess up the audio on this section for my voice, so I'm just gonna make this brief and do a bit of a voiceover, because this is a short stop as well. I'm here to do some villager trading. Trading got introduced in a snapshot just prior to this one, and so there are a few, or I guess a trade that I would like to get, the Eye of Ender trade, which is not in subsequent versions, or is in some subsequent versions, but then again becomes discontinued, so I'm going to get them early on, and also get the Bottle of Enchanting trades, just so that I can get easier access to more XP, because a lot of the things in the future are going to be to do with enchantments and anvils and stuff like that, so having a good supply of renewable experience is going to be very helpful for speeding that up. So I do now have these two guys. They both trade for Bottle of Enchanting, which is good, and then this guy also trades for the Eye of Ender for 8 emeralds, which is pretty steep, but you know, it is what it is. It's still a discontinued trade, so I'll keep him around nonetheless. But that is all I needed from this version, so I will now be moving on. So now I am into a 1.4 snapshot. This is the snapshot that added anvils, and for this snapshot only in particular, you can get nameless items in an anvil, though the drawback of that is that in this snapshot only, the crafting recipe for anvils requires 6 blocks of iron rather than 3. So I'm gonna take this down to some of my other feather falling bits that I have down there in my other pickaxe, since those are the things that will be conserved, unlike the tools that I'm actually using, which are likely to break at some point eventually. I can also get rid of some of the bookshelves around this now, since the highest enchantment level has been reduced, but I don't need to, so... Oh, it doesn't have the anvil sound, it just makes a normal block pacing noise, huh? So if I just go into here and... Is that not how this works? I need 45 levels to do that. Jesus Christ. Okay. What about, like, shears? 80 levels to... Okay. Right, so upon realizing how unbalanced anvils are on the snapshot where they are added, I have decided to go back. I've rolled back my world to the previous snapshot I was in, and I have taken measures to ensure that I can get an adequate amount of experience. Such will be required of me in the future, because in this snapshot, leveling up does not scale. So, by using bottles of enchanting, I can rapidly scale my level up, and then bring that into future versions to use for whatever enchanting I may need. I did also, since my duplication exploit, the Alt F4 thing, I've not been able to get it to work in the 1.4 snapshot where anvils are added. I believe it's still in the game, I'm just not able to perform it. So I also went ahead and duplicated things that I knew would need to be duplicated at some point, the feather falling equipment, so that in the future I can combine these to make it into feather falling 4 equipment. I need to get at least 8 copies of the same thing in order to be able to combine them to do that, and I've done the same with the art bits as well. I got more spawn eggs in the event that I will need them in the future, but other than that, I'm probably just gonna make and dupe some enchanted golden apples. Most of the other stuff that I have up there isn't stuff that I think that I'm going to need in too much bulk, and there will be other duplication exploits in the future that I can make use of, but I'm just setting myself up for what I will need in the near future. Okay, I think that's probably enough to last me a while. I'm gonna get myself a supply of these enchanted golden apples, and then I will be back in the other snapshot to do the anvil thing. Alright, so gotta make my anvil again because it got deleted when I downgraded my world. And then I'm gonna take just one of each of these, because when you combine these in an anvil, they will retain their name, I guess with the exception of one of these fishing rods, because it's going to become a carrot on a stick and retain its enchantments. So if I just put this in here... Okay. Sure. And I can just do the same for all of them, and it keeps the empty name in the name bar. That's interesting. I broke the anvil. Okay, I'm gonna have to go and get more iron, I suppose. That really didn't last very long, huh? And I'm already down 90 levels. I don't know why I completely forgot to think about the fact that anvils break after you use them. Some part of me, I guess, assumed that that functionality wouldn't be implemented yet, but I guess that's silly of me to think. Okay, I now have a set of all of my tools and equipment that have no name, so I'm just gonna store them away for now until they get to the point where they need to be used, which is not quite yet, and that is all I needed from this snapshot, just the nameless items, and for it to eat 200 of my levels. So, moving on to the next thing, I suppose. Alright, this is the very next snapshot of the game, which I believe added number controls, so now I can like use my number buttons to move things around, which in this version I believe bypassed any kind of restrictions on what could go in which places, and so I can show that off by adding a little platform to my display area here that has to be can't be detached, because the only way to actually see what's going on here is by interacting with these. And so if I put, let's say, if I do that, and then that, and then that, that is now something that will be discontinued in the future, because in subsequent versions you can only put things into these interfaces that are supposed to be in here. So now I can never move or touch those again, and I can do the same with these brewing stands. And these eggs, which I'm putting in, will be needed in the future for something that I intend to do, which requires them being in a brewing stand. As a matter of fact, I can't have 3 of them in. I need to have at least 1 slot open to be able to put something that will be brewed into a potion, so that the quote-unquote brewing can also apply to these spawn eggs to make something happen to them. I will also put some stuff into this brewing stand, like so. And these ones can just stay in here. Oh, need to move them, they can just remain. I guess I could also put an egg in the top slot, and then that one can stay like that as a showcase forever, whereas this one will have some practical use in the future that will then cause it to be destroyed and no longer be able to show off the fact that it has things that aren't supposed to be in there, though they do still render as potions on the visual for the model of the brewing stand, because obviously it doesn't know how to show you anything else. But that's all there is for this snapshot, just a very brief one, because they added the number controls. They didn't properly implement the restrictions on what to do with them, so... Okay, that's a little bit precarious. Oh. Never mind. So this is the version where I need to combine my feather falling items up into feather falling 4, and then also take advantage of another glaringly unintended feature that is in this particular snapshot, which I will get to in just a little bit. I should probably prioritize doing the armor set if this is going to eat up all of my levels. I mean, I know I have adequate backlog of emergency experience, but if each one of these wants to eat like 100 levels, I'm sure it's not that much, but the number goes down, and everyone hates when number goes down. Ah, there's the noise. Wonderful. Well, to anyone who thought that getting myself up 1,000 levels was excessive, they're already all gone. And I'm not even finished combining the feather falling yet. I'm not even up to the other thing. Okay, couple of anvils later, and a lot of experience. I now have full feather falling 4 equipment, most of which is nameless aside from the fishing rod. So the other thing now is the addition of enchanted books, which means that I need to acquire books. Sir, would you like to, you're a bit close to the edge there, my guy. I kinda would prefer if you, like, stuck around for a bit, so that I can be farming some leather from you, mayhaps. You don't seem to be the biggest fan of moving, so I guess I'll just kinda keep you in a hole for now, because I lack the necessary resources to give you a good home. You'll get one in the future at some point, probably, maybe. I do also need to torch around this area, but I believe I left my torches down at the mob system, and it takes a real long time for me to get up from there, so for now this place is just gonna have to be a little bit dangerous. I mean, I've got that guy now, but on his own he's not particularly useful. I need to go and see if I can find him a wife, maybe, that's not too far away. I'd rather it wasn't nighttime, but maybe there's one near spawn that I can go and nab. I have no idea how passive mob spawning works, so maybe I'm just gonna be looking around and finding nothing, but surely I'll come across one eventually. That's illegal sugarcane, huh? There's a sheep. Ah, cow. Several, in fact. Okay. They just lose interest sometimes. Come on, man. Oh, woman. Cow man. Come on, push your mate. I assume these guys can come with me into the nether. Yes. Perfect. Now I just have to hope that they don't fall into the end dimension. Where are they? Where are you going? Alright, you come this way. I gotta see what's up with... Okay. I guess it's a good thing that two of them came with me. Alright, come on. Let's go. I guess I could have just spawned cows in using the spawn eggs. I didn't really consider that up to this point, but I've already done this now, so there's no need for me to do that. Oh my god, you're stuck in the floor, man. There you go. Alright, into the pit, come on. Yep, there you go. Wonderful. I think there are some fences back at spawn. I'll go grab those, make them a bit of a more proper pen. Okay, so I now have a cow pen. I have a renewable source of leather, which will slowly feed the books that I need over time. Alright, big development. I've found a stack of leather in the debug chests, so I can get started on this immediately and I don't have to wait so long. I should still plant some of the sugarcane because I don't have nearly an infinite supply of paper, but this will at least get me off the ground a little bit. I can also grab these sugarcane, which is like the block, I suppose, rather than the item. I'm not entirely sure how it will interact differently, but I should imagine I can probably at least place it down and it'll grow like regular sugarcane. I wonder if this will let me place it away from water, though I doubt that'll do much of anything, since when I try to place another sugarcane on top of it, or when it tries to grow, it'll update and then it'll just pop off. Does it work? No. Cannot place it. Okay. I should set up a little sugarcane farm then, using these. I'll save a couple of them, since it is a discontinued thing, but it is something that will be removed. So I don't have that much of an attachment to them. I'll just save one. Oh. My water's gonna freeze, because this is a cold biome. What if water freezing doesn't destroy sugarcane like that? Like it didn't there, then there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to... Well, I guess that depends on whether or not the showcase area is in a taiga, because if the showcase area is in a taiga, then I can get the water to freeze without popping off the sugarcane. And then I should be able to silk touch the ice, I think. Yeah. Ooh, Tiger Hills? I should imagine that still gets snow. So if I wait for this water back here to freeze, and then get rid of it with silk touch, I should be able to just keep the sugarcane there with no water. Okay, I think that's enough sugarcane planted for now. It's a fair bit. Gonna start making up some books. I should also remember to breed these guys regularly, since my leather supply is far from infinite. I just had a brainwave, a eureka moment, if you will. The Beta 1.9 pre-release 3 spawns you with a stack of bookshelves, and I died several times during that snapshot. I didn't even consider until this point that I have just like a bunch of books. I'm gonna go grab those. Man, I'm so forgetful. I am very glad I kept those. Never hurts to have the facilities in place, but I'm glad to not have to wait for these guys to do their thing at the moment. Oh, the snow. The snow is making the enchants less potent. Man, I might have to put a roof on this thing. Right? Yeah. So the gimmick here is that in this version you can apply an enchanted book to anything. So I now have a knockback bucket, which allows for pretty much countless number of discontinued, unavailable, shouldn't be available enchantments on any manner of things. Pretty much anything that you can have in your inventory can get an enchantment in this snapshot. And so my objective is to get as many enchantments as I can. I will say that I think that each item can only have one invalid enchantment on it. At least for tools and armor, I think that's how it works. But that's still useful to be able to have because of something that we will encounter many, many, many versions down the line. So I'm still going to try and get at least a something. I don't know which particular piece I'm going to want to maximize enchantments on, but one of these things will one day have much on it. I have realized that part of the plan for what I had to do involves something that I hadn't anticipated. Part of what I wanted to do was get enchanted books from villagers, but enchanted books weren't sold by villagers until 20W50A, and the snapshot in which I can get enchantments on anything is 20W49A, which means that I have gone back to a version past in like 1.3. I went out to some new chunks to not load the area with the newest stuff, and I set my render distance really low, which I guess I can turn back up at this point. And I got myself an excess of emeralds and villager eggs to maximize the chances that I'd be able to get the books that I want. And once I get those books, I'm going to have to downgrade back one version, which shouldn't be that bad because the two snapshots have very few differences between them, and they're literally one after the other. So I don't anticipate that it should cause too many issues. I just now have to go back there and get the books that I want. Alright, so I thought I would show you a bit of the process. I've got most of the villages set up now. I've got about half a dozen enchanted books that I still need to get from these guys. This is my first time messing with the old villages. I guess the old villages. The first time I started playing this game seriously was during 140, when they overhauled the villager system entirely and changed it. And so what I do is I spawn a villager. If it's not a librarian, I burn them. I do this until they're a librarian. And when they are a librarian, I check their trades. And if it's the written book or paper trades, then I burn them, because I don't have those. And essentially I do that until I can get to the point where they have trades that I can advance, until they sell a book that I want. And then I move on to the next guy. The trades work differently, obviously, from the future versions before the overhaul. They have, I don't want to say a much smaller pool of items that each profession can have, but when you get a trade, it doesn't like level up like they do these days. You've got like the different tiers of villager, and then you give them experience by trading with them. These guys just kinda, they have a trade, and every time you do the rightmost trade that they have, there's a chance that they will unlock a next trade after that. I don't know if there's a cap on how many trades these guys can have. I'm pretty sure they can't have the same kind of trade twice, so if a librarian has a book trade, I'm pretty sure they can't have another book trade. Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure when you buy all of something from a guy that they don't ever restock, because I've been buying the bookshelves from these guys to supplement selling them books, and pretty much all of these guys no longer sell me bookshelves, but they don't have workstations. Their profession is given to them when they are brought upon this world, so you can't choose what kind of villager they're going to be. You just have to either breed until you get the right one, or in my case use the eggs that I was able to get from an earlier point. And so I do this process until I get the books that I want, which is, I guess, all of them. The only exception that I have is Thorns here. Since Thorns is added in this snapshot, it's not going to be useful when I revert the world to the last snapshot, because these will just disappear and I can't get them on any item, so this guy kind of is irrelevant, even though he does sell Thorns. I can get that at a future point on things that can have it, because I can't get it on things that can't, because it isn't in the game in the last snapshot. But I'm gonna keep at this until I get the last couple enchantments that I need, or until I get bored enough to want to move on and give up. So I guess I'll see you then. So here's what I've got. This is my proprietary trading hall that I've come up with. It's kind of ended up being a tiered system just because I thought that was the best way I could think to lay it out, to where you could see as many of the guys as possible. There is one of each book trade. I've managed to get 7 to 8 of each, at least of the highest level of each enchant, and where I haven't been able to do so, I've at least been able to get the equivalent. So, like here, I've got Blast Protection 3, I've got a bunch of these that I can combine into Blast Protection 4 to make up for it. And now the next step is to take all of these and put them onto a bunch of things, and what that means is making a lot of armor and other stuff, because I intend to get one of each piece of diamond armor, and maybe a sword and something else that has these incompatible enchantments, not just because they become discontinued almost immediately, but they will also be very useful for something that I can do, as I said earlier, much later on, in quite a recent version actually. So I'll be bringing this broken feature all the way from, I think this is a 1.4.6 snapshot, all the way up to a 1.20 snapshot, I believe. Okay, and with that, I am done with what I am able to forage for the armor and tool sets. I've got full diamond armor, and swords, and pickaxes, and that's all I can manage with the amount of books that I've been able to put together. I have 20 of each, all with a different enchant. They have every enchant that I can currently get via books as of this version where this bug is able to be performed. And I have one more item that I'm going to put things on, but you will see that in just a second. Okay, so farmland is the last item that I'm going to be doing. Putting all these enchantments, I wanted to choose a block that I haven't done anything with yet. Like, I have the end portal frames and stuff inside of the brewing stands upstairs. I haven't done anything with the farmland. I didn't even realize that it was in the debug chests until a couple of versions after I started the world. And I think that this is an item that stays in the game to the current version, so this is one that I'll be able to keep around and put these things on, I believe. Yeah, now it doesn't stack with the rest of the farmland, so it does become differentiated. I should also specify I didn't put unbreaking onto any of the tools or armor that I put everything else on, purely because unbreaking is something that I can put onto them at any point in the future, so as long as I do that before, like, 1.20 and get a piece of unbreaking armor and sword and pickaxe which isn't difficult, so I'm sure I'll be able to get that done before then. It's just not a necessity that I do it right now. Okay, so all of the farmland have been put together. All that I needed. I can store them away at this point. And I think, honestly, that'll about do it for now. I'm satisfied with the amount that I've done today. I've set up the viewing bridge for all of the stuff that I put down. I set up the villager stuff. God, I did like all of the enchanting stuff within this episode, pretty much. The nameless stuff on the anvils that I have now there, the first one in each of these chests, and all of the books set up with the trading hall, and then just a bucket load of enchanting. I will say I'm very happy that I got as much backlog of bottle of enchanting as I did, because I've used a non-insubstantial amount of them in the process of doing all of this combining on anvils, as well as going through like 10 anvils in the process just of doing all of this for this last bit. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it off here for the time being, and I will pick it up next time, going into the next version, which I think might be something in 1.5, but I guess I'll see you then.